Okay, so I want you to imagine sitting on a freezing, completely snow-covered mountainside.
Oh man, just freezing.
Right. And you are forced to meditate. Like the wind is howling so fiercely that you can barely hear your own thoughts.
That sounds absolutely miserable.
It really does. And there's literally ice forming on your chin.
Yeah.
Just drop by freezing drop. You're completely exposed to the elements out there.
Yeah, you're just trapped in it.
Exactly. But instead of panicking, you are using that extreme shivering physical discomfort as a gateway.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. You're using the biting cold to deliberately plunge yourself backward into the past. You're reliving the most intense, traumatic, and somehow romantic memory of your entire life just to feel a single spark of internal warmth.
I mean, it is such a brilliantly visceral way to open a story. You can practically feel the frostbite setting in as a reader, but you also feel the psychological desperation. The protagonist is basically weaponizing his own memory for survival.
Which is such a powerful concept. And that framing device is the entry point for what we are unpacking today.
Yes, it is.
We are doing a deep dive into the chapter titled Introspective Meditation from the book San Vitae, The Awakening.
A fantastic chapter.
It really is. And for anyone looking for their next major read, consider this deep dive your reader's guide, basically.
Exactly. We're going to break it all down.
Yeah, we are going to look under the hood of this chapter to see how it masterfully balances post-apocalyptic world building, genuine body horror, and this really dark, doomed romance.
Yeah.
And it does all of that without ever losing its grip on the reader.
The sheer narrative tightrope the author is walking here is well, it's what makes it so worth analyzing. It's really a masterclass in tonal control.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, the author throws you into vastly different emotional states, and yet, it never feels disjointed. It feels like a deliberate reflection of a world that is just fundamentally broken.
Right, because the genre blending we get in just this one chapter is so intense. We start on that brutal, serene mountain, then we're pulled into a flashback inside this incredibly opulent, intimidating Gothic church.
The architecture in that scene is amazing.
It is. And then, from there, we are suddenly dealing with the awkward, fumbling reality of a teenage boy in an elevator.
Which is hilarious, by the way.
So funny. But then, without any warning, we're dropped into some of the most terrifying, visceral violence and magical theory you can imagine.
And that whiplash is entirely the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. To understand why it works, we have to look at whose eyes we're seeing this through. The narrator is a young man named Kurien.
Right, Kurien.
And in the hierarchy of this universe, Kurien is what they call a sans.
I actually found myself pausing a bit on that term when I first encountered it. Sans basically translates to without. Right?
Exactly.
So in this context, he is a normal human. He's a courier. He's someone completely devoid of the immortality or the magical pedigree that rules this society.
Precisely. He is the ultimate outsider, and that makes him the absolute perfect lens for the reader.
That makes sense.
Yeah. When we find him freezing on that mountain, he's trying to practice they're called D.P. Kirk divination hand signs.
Right, the hand signs.
Now, the text doesn't actually stop to give you a textbook definition of what those are, which I think is a great narrative choice.
No info dumping.
Exactly. But from the context, you realize these aren't magical spells. They're tactical, likely survival-based sign language or, signaling techniques used by couriers out in this hostile, post-cataclysmic wasteland.
So he's relying on purely human, learned skills to survive?
Exactly. No magic, just grit.
And while he's doing this, he is looking out at the horizon. I loved this part. The author uses the landscape to just quietly sketch out the political reality of the world.
It's brilliantly done.
Kurien sees the distant, really imposing light of the Havenbrook Tower. And that is this massive symbol of Santerrie power, the ruling class.
Right.
And he contrasts that cold, intimidating structure with the warm, inviting light of a place called Roanth.
It's such an elegant way to establish the stakes, isn't it? You don't need a heavy history lesson to understand the tension there.
You really don't.
You've got the cold, distant authority of Havenbrook versus the warmth of human connection in Roanthe. And we also get these subtle whispers of the broader lore, woven right into his immediate reality.
Like the factions.
Yes. We hear about the Humanis faction, who rely on de vitae technology. And again, if we dissect the language, de vitae implies technology that functions without the magical vitae lifeblood of the elites.
Ah, so it's machinery over magic.
Exactly.
Okay, so you have the Humanis faction on one side, relying on tech, and then you have the ruling class, the San Vitae, And these are the immortals.
The immortals, yes.
Right. And to escape the reality of literally freezing to death on that mountain, Kurien dives into his memory of the day he first collided with their world.
The inciting incident, basically.
Yeah, he flashes back to standing outside the former church of Ezekiel with a San Vitae Covenness named Myasuchi.
And the physical description of this church is where the author really starts flexing their thematic world building.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this building is wild.
It really is.
It's described as this meticulously restored pre-cataclysm Gothic church. Like beautiful stained glass, ancient marble, the whole works.
Very grand.
Very grand. But bolted seamlessly onto the back of it is a massive 20-level modern addition.
Made entirely of steel and glass.
Yes, and it's designed entirely to house the Santerrie Council's bureaucracy. I was reading this, and the only thing I could think of was like an architectural mullet.
An architectural mullet. That is highly accurate.
Right. Think about it. It is sacred, ancient, awe-inspiring history in the front, and then just this massive utilitarian bureaucratic powerhouse in the back.
Business in the back, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But seriously, it's incredibly intimidating. For a commoner like Kurien, who's just been conscripted into their service minutes prior to this, walking into this space has to be absolutely terrifying.
Oh, undoubtedly. But let's look at how that mullet functions mechanically within the society.
Okay, let's do it.
It is doing a tremendous amount of heavy lifting for the narrative. The architecture isn't just a quirky design choice, it's a literal mirror for the Santerrie ruling class themselves.
Oh, so?
Well, the ancient, beautifully opulent Gothic facade is designed to inspire reverence and awe from the commoners, the Sans. It's public relations.
Oh, interesting, like a propaganda tool.
Exactly. It features stained glass detailing the post-cataclysm history and the 54 Dedrath, their sacred laws. It presents this image of divine eternal authority.
But behind that pretty facade is the reality.
Right. Behind the awe is a 20-level windowless machine.
Wow.
It's a massive, imposing, and ultimately oppressive modern power structure that processes human lives like paperwork.
That is so bleak.
It is. And by forcing Kurien to walk past the majestic history and into that bureaucratic maw, the author structurally sets up his feelings of deep unworthiness and isolation. He's just a mortal boy being swallowed by an immortal, uncaring institution.
Which sets the stage perfectly for what happens next. We have this monolithic, intimidating setting, but then the author pulls the camera in tight, and we get this sudden, intensely human vulnerability.
Yes, the tonal shift.
Yeah, we go from grand, sweeping Gothic architecture to an elevator.
Oh, the elevator scene.
It is honestly one of the most endearing, hilarious scenes in the chapter.
Because Kurien has clearly never been in a high-speed modern elevator before.
Right. The elevator lurches upward, and Kurien just completely loses his footing. He flails, and his hand accidentally makes direct contact with his Covenness Myasuchi's bottom.
With an audible smack.
Yes, an audible smack. He is utterly mortified. And then, trying to overcorrect, the elevator lurches again, and he crashes face first into Kimimari.
Who is Myasuchi's assistant?
Exactly. And it's just a mess.
And I think it's vital to clarify who Kimimari actually is in this dynamic.
Oh, right, the concierge.
Yeah, the text refers to her as a concierge. This isn't just an administrative assistant. A concierge is a designated vita donor.
Like a blood donor.
Basically. She is effectively a living, walking blood bag for the Covenness's magic.
Wow. That's dark.
It's a deeply intimate, highly transactional relationship born out of the necessity of fueling immortal power.
That makes the clumsiness even more jarring. You have these ancient, powerful beings involved in this intense, blood-bound hierarchy, and then you have this teenage kid literally stumbling around like a newborn giraffe between them.
That's a great way to put it.
It just completely undercuts the grandiosity of the Santerrie.
Which is a necessary decompression for the reader. I mean, if the story remained at a high register of Gothic intimidation the whole time, it would become exhausting.
Right, you need a break.
The clumsiness grounds the epic fantasy in relatable reality.
It definitely does. And that grounding continues when they finally reach Myasuchi's tapestried quarters. The public facade is gone, and the setting becomes incredibly intimate.
Very intimate.
She steps behind a dressing screen to change, and Kurien is just standing there. And for a couple of pages, we get this running internal monologue where Kurien is battling between two sides of himself.
The primal and the chivalrous.
Yes. He labels them his primal self, which is basically just his raging, hormone-fueled teenage lust, and his chivalrous self, which wants to be this stoic, honorable protector.
The internal tug-of-war is incredibly loud in his own head.
Now, I have to admit, reading this part, I found myself getting a little skeptical.
Really? Why?
Well, the whole internal debate, like naming his primal beast in his chivalrous knight, it bordered on being a bit melodramatic for me.
I can see that.
I just wondered if it was maybe a little too much angst for a reader to digest right after all the deep lore of the church. Like, is he just being a whiny teenager?
It is entirely fair to question that, but I think that melodrama is actually the author's sharpest characterization tool in the chapter.
How so?
Think about the psychological reality of the protagonist. He is a teenage boy thrust into a world of immortal gods, ancient blood magic, and rigid bureaucracy.
True.
He does not have the emotional vocabulary or the centuries of detached perspective that the Santerrie have.
So he falls back on absolutes.
Precisely. Teenagers think in absolute world-ending terms. Everything is the most important thing that has ever happened.
That's very true.
He frames his internal conflict in epic terms of chivalry and primal beasts because he is desperately trying to overlay a sense of noble order onto his chaotic, terrifying reality.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it like that.
It highlights his sheer lack of sophistication compared to the world around him. It makes him an incredibly empathetic, authentic protagonist.
Phrasing it like that changes how I view the scene behind the screen entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah, his innocence isn't a flaw. It's the whole point.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what Myasuchi is drawn to. While he's internally freaking out, she makes this beautiful, tragic confession.
It's a heartbreaking moment.
She tells him that she specifically chose him out of all the capable conscripts because she missed the purity of innocent longing.
Because she is an ancient being. She's used to being looked at through the lens of political calculation or fear or, predatory lust.
But Kurien just looks at her with tender awe. He's really just a boy with a crush. But the moment she admits this, she starts weeping. She immediately regrets pulling him into her world.
Because of the Deidreth.
Right, she explains that the Deidreth, those 54 sacred laws depicted in the stained glass, they strictly forbid a covenness and a human conscript from ever truly bonding or being together.
It's tragic.
By picking him, she feels she has condemned him to a life of imprisonment in the bureaucratic machine we just talked about.
The architecture of oppression rears its head again. She desires genuine human connection, but the institutional structure literally outlaws it.
And Kurien, fueled by that same teenage bravado we just discussed, basically tells her he doesn't care about the laws. He chooses her anyway.
It's very romantic.
It is. It's this sweet, doomed, romantic moment. And then the author pulls the rug completely out from under the reader.
Oh, yes. This is where that tonal whiplash we discussed earlier executes its sharpest turn.
It really does.
The stakes elevate from a poignant romance to a brutal, horrifying fight for survival in a matter of sentences.
It is incredibly gripping. So Kurien is sitting alone in the dim room later, waiting for Myasuchi to return from a meeting with the Santerrie Council. And out in the hallway, he hears this sound.
Just that scraping.
Yeah, just tink, tink, scrape, tink, tink. And he realizes it's the sound of Myasuchi's metal stiletto heel dragging lifelessly against the stone floor.
It builds the dread so well.
The door opens, and Kimimari, the donor, is practically carrying her inside.
And the author does not spare the reader the visceral reality of what the council is capable of here.
Not at all. It is pure body horror. Myasuchi is destroyed.
Yeah.
Her lungs are audibly gurgling with fluid. Her pristine gown is reduced to bloody scraps. She has these deep, horrific lacerations from bladed hands. Her waist has been pierced by spine-covered belts, and her legs are gnashed by chains.
It's awful.
It is an extreme, perverse level of violence. And looking at her, Kurien has this profound realization about the true nature of the council. He calls them pitiful husks.
That specific phrase, pitiful husks, that unlocks the central thematic conflict of the entire book.
Really?
Yes, it is a brilliant deconstruction of how fantasy usually handles immortality.
Right, because usually immortality is the prize. It's, elves living in perpetual grace or vampires enjoying eternal indulgence.
But here, the author explores the mechanical psychological degradation of living forever.
It's a curse.
Exactly. A human mind is fundamentally not built to hold eternity. The Vitae magic they possess can heal the physical vessel like, it repairs the cells, it keeps the skin young, but it does absolutely nothing to heal the psychological wear and tear of centuries.
Their minds just erode.
They erode and they become numb. The tragedy of the Santerrie Council is that time has so thoroughly dulled their senses that everyday experiences register as nothing.
That's horrifying.
To feel any form of stimulation, any gratification or proof of their own existence, they have to resort to perverse extreme violence.
They tortured her just to feel something.
Exactly. They tortured Myasuchi, not necessarily out of political malice, but out of a desperate, monstrous need just to feel.
Yeah.
The immortality is basically a disease of the mind.
Which explains why Myasuchi was so desperate for Kurien's innocent gaze. She's terrified of becoming one of them.
Yes.
But as Kurien is processing this horror, trying to help Kimimari wrap Myasuchi's wounds, the scene takes a wild psychological left turn.
It really escalates.
Kimimari steps out to get more bandages. Kurien is alone with the dying Covenness. And suddenly, this demonic, sinister voice starts echoing inside his own head.
It is deeply unsettling because the attack isn't coming from a monster in the room, it's an internal invasion.
And the voice starts taunting him. It actually uses his earlier internal monologue against him.
Which is so creepy.
It tells him he's just a beast, that his chivalry is a lie, and it commands him to take advantage of Myasuchi while she is bleeding and helpless.
Just vile.
Reading this, I was genuinely confused for a moment. Like, what is actually the mechanism happening here? Is Kurien literally cracking under the trauma and losing his mind? Or is this magic?
It is a vital question, and it really speaks to the hidden depths of the world's magic system.
Okay, lay it on me.
Normal humans, sans, should not be susceptible to this specific kind of internal magical intrusion. What Kurien is experiencing is the manifestation of the corrupting nature of Vitae magic itself.
So the magic is attacking his mind.
Exactly. The presence of so much spilled Vitae in the room, combined with his own heightened emotional state, it awakens this primal, destructive instinct. It is the very force that turns the council into monsters, trying to infect him.
Oh, wow. But here's the most fascinating part. Kurien actually defeats it.
He does.
And he doesn't do it by casting a counterspell or reciting an incantation.
No, he defeats it by dismantling its logic.
Which I loved.
Yeah, the demon tries to force him into a binary. You're either a pure knight or a ravenous beast. But Kurien integrates the two. He accepts his physical desire alongside his pure love.
He owns it.
Exactly. He essentially tells the voice, yes, I desire her physically, but I desire her heart and her soul far more. He doesn't deny his human nature. He embraces the entirety of it.
And by doing that, he subdues this ancient magic with pure emotional truth.
Which is huge.
It's a huge signal to the reader. In a universe governed by bleak bureaucracy, cynical violence, and numb immortals, genuine, complex human love might literally be the most powerful magical conduit in existence.
Perfectly said. Emotional truth bypasses the standard rules of magic.
Right.
And we see the immediate result of that bypass.
The miracle.
Yeah.
Kurien inexplicably channels a stream of pure glowing vitae directly from his own hand to Myasuchi's face.